Your time is limited, so don't waste it living someone else's life. We often treat this as a motivational platitude, but looking at the literature across existential philosophy, empirical psychology, and behavioral design, it operates as a strictly measurable construct. It describes a core mechanical friction at the center of the human condition. On one side, we possess an innate biological drive for self-determination. On the other, we face the immense psychological gravity of external social scripts demanding conformity. Mapping how an individual successfully navigates this tension requires combining the philosophical models of human freedom with the quantifiable metrics of modern psychology and deliberate behavioral methodologies. Understanding the architecture of this tension is the critical difference between actively engineering a meaningful life and passively defaulting to a pre-programmed social role. The foundation of this architecture begins with a single philosophical premise: existence precedes essence. Humans are not born with a predefined destiny, a specific purpose, or a fixed nature. As Jean-Paul Sartre argued, you simply exist first. Your identity is strictly an active creation, built incrementally through ongoing choice and action. But this creates a conceptual problem regarding time. If human life were infinite, any single choice or action would be rendered trivial. There would be no urgency to choose a specific path if you had an eternity to eventually explore them all. Martin Heidegger addressed this through his concept of being towards death. He posited that the inescapable certainty of our own mortality is the exact mechanism that strips away the illusion of infinite possibilities. The hard boundary of finitude acts as a catalyst. It forces the chaotic, endless array of potential societal roles to collapse into a singular, urgent focus on what is genuinely important to the individual right now. Immanuel Kant frames this choice morally. He distinguishes between autonomy, acting on self-legislated laws of reason, and heteronomy, where an individual's actions are governed entirely by external commands and desires. The philosophical awareness of death is not a threat to meaning. It is the required structural pressure that makes a self-directed, autonomous life logically possible. To move from philosophical mandates to tangible outcomes, we have to establish how an authentic life is empirically measured. The most extensively researched model for this is Deci and Ryan's self-determination theory, a scientifically validated framework for human motivation and well-being. Optimal human functioning relies on three psychological needs: autonomy, competence, and relatedness. Living under external pressure triggers controlled motivation, a chronic need frustration causing identity foreclosure, anxiety, and depression. In contrast, autonomous motivation aligns behaviors with internal values, satisfying autonomy and fueling sustained effort. Framing this entirely around individual choices ignores systemic sociological friction. The Frankfurt School of Critical Theory points out that personal autonomy is constantly undermined by market-driven social forces. Sociologists like Theodor Adorno observe that the culture industry manufactures standardized lifestyles, actively subjugating individual critical thought to maintain social cohesion. This reveals a core behavioral paradox about human nature. If knowing our time is limited drives self-actualization, why is the default human reaction to conform to the herd? Mortality salience, the awareness of our own death, creates a violent behavioral split. Some enter a generative loop, seeking profound meaning and personal values to counter anxiety, but most trigger a defensive loop, clinging to cultural worldviews and conforming to in-groups for safety. The cost of prioritizing this defensive safety is steep. Research indicates that adopting facades of conformity suppresses the true self, leading to a state of psychological disruption that existential psychologist Rollo May described as the hollow man syndrome. The exact existential spark required to forge an authentic life is the very same trigger that biologically primes us to seek the safety of conformity. Overcoming this neurological defensive loop and systemic sociological friction requires structured methodologies. Introspection alone cannot override the deep-seated pressures of conformity. Building an authentic life is a deliberate feat of engineering that must be systematically designed into daily routines. The Life Design Framework reframes career and life planning from an inherited path into an iterative design problem. Instead of seeking a single destiny, individuals use prototyping to navigate uncertainty, building the proactive agency needed to break free from societal expectations. Tools like values-based career counseling and lifestyle redesign apply this same logic to the micro level. They teach individuals to consciously filter major decisions and restructure daily habits based on internal alignment rather than external prestige. To protect this system from the demands of others, individuals must cultivate the practical skills of establishing personal boundaries and practicing active self-advocacy. Living your own life is an active, continuous construction project. Without deliberate architectural frameworks in place, your time and energy will naturally collapse back into the default state of conformity. This brings us to a unified blueprint of an authentic existence. The limitation of time provides the initial existential spark. That urgency powers the internal psychological engine of self-determination, structured and protected by the behavioral wireframes of life design. Crucially, successful self-determination requires cultivating a supportive social network, communities that foster autonomy rather than policing individuality. Identity is a dynamic, continuous process of self-creation, a work in progress shaped by the active alignment of actions and values. An awareness of our limited time is the ultimate prerequisite for meaning. It is the only pressure powerful enough to force us to stop borrowing the scripts of others and actively author our own